Today we are in exploration of leadership with a group of next generation leaders. Our premise is the intuition that guides us that humanity has entered an unprecedented phase shift transition, and that although there are no historical references that we could use for comparison, if we were to try to reference, then the next few decades will perhaps be better looked at not through the lens of a new Renaissance age, but better looked at through the lens of an axial shift, in the sense that absolutely nothing in the socio-economic order will be left untouched. So our premise here is that we are choosing to playfully relax into this discovery rather than react from a place of fear or anxiety, because although we don't know where, how, and into exactly what kind of a cosmology this major shift that we are experiencing will resolve itself into, although we don't know that, we do understand that this shift is emerging through us. It needs all of us. It needs the whole of us as human beings, the sensitive, the vulnerable, the brave, the attuned, the inquiry part, the fully embodied part, all of us as whole persons that we are. And so I would like to ask Forrest to ease us into this space of inquiry by leading us into a first round of checking and settling in the space. And we will then build the inquiry in the main room, exploring what are the faces and natures and archetypes of leadership we are sensing as the most conductive and attractive leadership faces for us at this time. We will then transition to spend about 40-50 minutes in rooms, exploring more the personal dimension of each of our leadership endeavors in the world at this time, and then come back and inquire further into evolution, the evolution of next gen leadership. So please, Forrest, ease us and lead us into this opening.
Yeah, thanks, Aviv, and thank you, everyone. I just feel so honored and touched to be here with you all. I appreciate you showing up and getting to do this together. In terms of arriving a little bit more fully, I just want to invite us to take a couple of breaths. And start to bring some of our awareness into the body. You might allow, I see a couple of us starting to just allow the body to move a little bit in whatever way it wants to. Just allowing the body to settle into the space, arrive a little more fully. I don't know if any of you all are like me, but I can get a little heady sometimes. So taking a couple breaths and connecting to the body is useful for me. So I just invite you for a few moments as we're landing to allow the body to move how it wants to and just to wiggle into the space. And then for our first check-in, we're going to invite an embodied check-in, meaning just with your body without any words. What does your body, thanks, Jakob. What does your body have to share arriving into the space? See if your body has something to express into the room. Yeah, there we go. What's it like being here with a group of next generation leaders? Thanks, Diego. I like the dance move. It feels flowy. Oh, thank goodness. I'm not feeling like a total stiff all of a sudden. This is great. Yeah. And so let us know with your body, how are you? What's happening for you in this moment? Share your mood, something about your inner state, your sense of well-being, what's happening in your life. Being here in this moment. And just see what it's like for your body to take in the information being shared with you from the other bodies and faces here. Aviv mentioned we're here for a discovery today, and we emailed out ahead of time an invitation to listen and sense into the what might want to be discovered here today. And for me, it's so important that we stay connected to our bodies as deep instruments of listening into the space and into this moment and what might want to emerge with and through us as us right now. So with that, would love to, as Aviv said, welcome all voices in. If there's anything you'd like to share that's been showing up for you as you're sensing and listening into this gathering today, we welcome you to presence that into the space, and would love to also hear what's happening for you right now, being here together. All of you is welcome, and yeah, thanks for being here. Stefan, my attention's coming to you. Are you open to sharing first?
Sure, always open. I think what I'm landing with is being on this pair of August with holidays and having paused and relaxed some of my activities. I noticed there's a lot of space liberating itself inside me for something new. And I keep having these mornings, the last 4 or 5 mornings, this kind of creative energy, this creative power. And usually there's a medium of expression, it can be, painting, drawing, writing. But it feels like this new creative power, this new energy, it doesn't have yet its own medium. It looks like it will require a new medium of expression, a new form of creation. So it makes me be attentive to like not only what's unfolding inside me, but what's unfolding in the world. And I'm bringing this today, this openness to learn something new, but also to have my view of what's possible completely change, and even new forms of expression, new forms of creation. And this is directly connected for me to the next generation leadership, and this integration of diverse aspects of life. It feels like this form of creative power, it wants to be, let's say, it wants to connect the inner world, the outer world, the individual, the collective, and have a place of expression that's also not only creating something, but benefiting others. An integration of diverse mediums. And I'm wondering if any of you can relate with that and has a experience to share about that.
Hi, everyone. It's Nusha. Yeah, Stefan, I resonate with what you're sharing. For me, it's not so much of a huge space of openness yet. I feel like I'm in between two worlds right now. And yeah, like letting go of the old ways of being and doing and stepping into something new. But I feel like I'm in a sticky spot. So when Forrest, you said, let's move, I felt very sticky, like in between two things, kind of like letting go of one thing and stepping into the next. And it's been like that for the last 3 months. I've been like going with that feeling and just this knowing of letting go of the old. And I think it connects a bit to what you were saying, Aviv, in terms of like an axial shift that we're going through, like as a collective as well as individually. So I think it's really cool because we get to let go of the old to make space for the new to come in. Letting go of old habits. And Aviv, you talked about like vulnerability, bravery, vision, things like that. So making space for those things. And I feel like I'm being really like intentional with my time. Like I'm here to serve, to your point, Stefan, with regards to serving humanity. It's like there's so many activities and things that I used to do. And now it's like, I'm here for a purpose. I need to live this purpose. I need to do actions that are connected to that. And I'm not really attracted to the other things that I used to do that may not have been in alignment with serving humanity in like a larger scale. So yeah, that's what's there. And I also see, I know Aviv, you talked about working from the place, not of fear, but from bravery. So I think it's beautiful portals of perception. And Stefan, you talked about a different perception, and it's like this perception of creating from a place of love. And I love how, Forrest, you created that through a different medium, which is through our bodies and just getting out of our head and being more, of course, we need to be in our head to create, right? To put everything into logical form, but to be more in our bodies. And one last thing, the thing that has, to your point, Stefan, with regards to creation, for me, it's been like a showering of downloads, like since May. It's just a constant download of information, and it's all there. And I'm really excited about putting it all together and just seeing how everything connects, but it continues to come through. So I'm curious if anyone else have had similar experiences to the ones that I've shared. And it's a joy and it's a pleasure to see some of the people I already know and to meet some of you. I look forward to getting to know all of you a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks, Nusha. And I feel really touched by, as you're sharing of letting go. For me, I touch into the grief, and relief has been a common phrase for me recently. In letting go, there's a deep, deep grieving process in the letting go, and I feel more welcomed here, touching into that, and the depth of the grief I've been in contact with, that feels really, really satiating and important in staying embodied in what we're exploring and wandering into. So I appreciate you sharing. Landon, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Forrest. Hi, everybody. Right now, I feel a little bit of nervousness, and only because I'm very grateful to be in this room. Because over the past, I don't know, it's been probably 18 to 24 months, of learning to accept like this new way of living. At many times it's been very lonely, because there wasn't that many people in my circles that could, that I felt like I could relate to, talking about wanting to serve humanity, talking about wanting to, rebuild the systems because they're clearly dysfunctional and not working. There wasn't that many people for me to talk to in terms of you know, hey, what if we combined these two things, these two areas, these two regions of knowledge, and then had some people from each of those create something beautiful and harmonious. And so I just feel very grateful and a little bit nervous being in this room. And that's, as I drop deeper into my body, I'm sure it'll start to dissipate. And the more that I get to know you guys and talk with you guys, I think I'll be more excited and just happy to be here. Of course, I'm happy to be here, but that's kind of what I'm feeling in my body right now.
Jakob, my attention's coming to you. Can we welcome some of your genius into the space?
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Yeah. Wonderful to be with you all. I think I'm like landing here. I guess like appreciate how much headiness I've already expanded on some of the stuff that we've been talking about. And I think like the astuteness with which I am able to both like check the assumptions that are underlying our constructs. Like, is there an actual age? Is it clearly a dysfunctional system? And just like, for who is that true? How is that true? How is it helpful to think that? And to let all of that go and be like, okay, wait, what do I need right now? What do we 9 people or 8 people need right now? So, yeah. So that's what I'm with. And I'm with a lot of something like ordinary normalcy. So, like, as we are like creating this beautiful new world, can we accept, or like, at least this is an invitation for me at least, right? Like me showing up here, can I accept like my ordinariness and having played some video games today and frolicking in some joys, and yeah, to accept, I guess, me more fully, and to accept everyone who's not in the we space, who's not in all these illustrious contexts, and like, yeah. So that's a little bit where I'm at today. Yeah, nice to be here with all of you. I guess I might suggest, Diego, would you like to continue? Yeah.
Thanks, Jakob. I love your share. I resonate in some ways. And I'll share where I'm coming from. It's been also some challenging, and because of the same reason, very interesting days, the last days. Starting up my life as a, I don't even know yet what to call it exactly, but as an independent professional, and particularly doing what I love, in the form of shares, starting with content creation, or in the form of trying to organize workshops and this kind of things. And it's a lot of newness and a lot of power that is coming to me. It's crazy to, like, for the first time in my life, to do what I love more all the time, kind of. And I feel in a way disoriented, because I'm in a new space with new habits, with at the same time more grounded than ever. It's one of the many beautiful paradoxes. And this is what I'm showing up here. So also with a lot of openness and a lot of excitement, definitely, in defining how I want to show up in my life in this new beginning. It's also how I want to be a leader, and how I want to relate to all of the other leaders around. Yeah, that's me. And I'll pass it on to you if I say your name right, Sushant.
Thank you, Diego. Yeah, that is correct. Thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to listen to you all. Thank you, Forrest, for that invitation into the space, and Aviv. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm sensing the thing that came up for me strongly was hide and seek. It feels like this space is so intimate and familiar, but there are new faces, and there's always that I think hide and seek that we play with sort of the cosmos in different ways, that we come to this space that's been weaved together to hold a certain kind of consciousness, and then when we leave, the unweaving happens and we weave something, same consciousness somewhere else, and then we come back and then we realize, we've been growing that consciousness and the consciousness has been growing us. And so I'm kind of just feeling that sense of both intimate but also a new expression. So it's both known and unknown for me, and it's feel beautiful to be in that space. So I was, this morning as I was coming into the call, I was just contemplating on what is showing up, what's sort of is this call about, and and then again, it's such a simple thing to say, but again, the recognition that everything else has happened in my life, in all of our lives, to be here, right? And just the realization that every delay that I experienced, every fraction of a second that was delayed for a number of reasons, Wi-Fi going out this morning, fixing, and all of that moment has led to this moment, and just recognizing that that's true of every moment, and that feels very sacred to be here, because everything else has happened to be here. So I'm just in a very listening space, and also very curious, very familiar with this space, and very unknown of what's emerging. So thank you. Great to be here.
Thanks, Sushant. Aviv, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm happy to go next. Did you want to contribute anything before, or you want me to go next? I can do either.
Yeah, go for it. That feels great.
Yeah, so first, I am. There's three things that are present for me right now. First, just having taken in what is coming through each and every one of you, and the recognition, the appreciation of the uniqueness of each and every individual, and this juxtaposition or ambidexterity that each person is so uniquely individual, and yet you are each, we are each a portal to so many other people all around the world who are inquiring, searching, seeking, harmonizing, engaging in similar inquiries. So the awareness that, Jakob, with what you said, with accepting the ordinary nature of yourself, when you do that, when you say that, it's as though you are welcoming another huge big part of humanity, and that part is invited to relax into this space. So I'm appreciating that composite, the uniqueness of each and every voice and how you reach making a transmission to your tribe, to your galactic tribe, if you like. And that's part of the premise of doing and recording something like this, because we often, I know in my own journey, tend to feel, oh, I'm very lonely in this inquiry, I'm very lonely in this experience. And sometimes we feel like that. And yet when we work through whatever it is that we're working through, which is that second and third dimensions that are present for me here, we find all the others that are on that wavelength, on that inquiry, on that search, inside that, that wave that's now coming through at this time. And what it makes me present to is the unique combinations that we make. And Forrest talked about receiving the information from the different bodies. So receiving the information from the different bodies and from the different voices, and how there is an emergent presencing that occurs in each and every one of us. And when you speak, when you bring your voice, each of our voices, there is a kind of the whole universe quivers, because you are engaging and plugging to play with the collective dance. And so I'm so aware that part of the next gen leadership is about facilitation of that inclusion, because every time we leave part of ourselves out and we leave others out, then part of the universe, the larger cosmology that is seeking to engage us, is left out, is frozen out of the possibility of its emergence. So there is that, and that the third dimension is indeed leadership, and how when we sense into emergent leadership and next gen leadership, we're coming through centuries of we thought that leaders were the Alexander the Great and the Napoleonic leaders, and we have come to realize that leadership is so much more beyond that. And so I'll name that I just feel a little imbalanced here today, because I hoped to see more of the feminine presence here, and all that means is that all us men here need to also step in and be inclusive of the feminine part of ourselves. So those two energies, the masculine and the feminine energies, are integrated into this, because I believe strongly that over the last 4, 5, 6 decades, one of the most important trends in leadership has been the integration of feminine leadership. And I think the inquiry today is to encompass and integrate that and go beyond that to say, okay, what can we say about the emergent leadership at this time that's inclusive of feminine and masculine energies, that's inclusive of this distributed idea that we are sensing, that each of your voices, when you speak, you become a leader to your own process, to your own awareness, to your own consciousness, and through you to the rest of us, through your presence. And how do we facilitate that? And then what are the other qualities or faces or natures that we sense are most paramount, most conductive, most attractive, most facilitative to the leadership possibility? And leadership in that sense, for me, is so central to the portals of perception inquiry, because the core inquiry is, where is the future emerging? And obviously the answer is, it's emerging with all of us all the time. And so what is it that we can reveal about that future that's emerging that proffers opportunity for all of us and for humanity at large? Because the sense is that we are right here now 8 of us, but we're not just 8 of us. There are 8 millions of us, or 80 millions of us, seeking and inquiring in a similar way, and we are looking to make this shared emergent search today a transmission and an invitation to all that they yearn for in the deepest sense of their hearts and their souls. So all that is present with me. Today I'm sensing all that you shared, the download of new intelligence that's arriving, Stefan, that is yet to reveal its media, the sense, Nusha, of the in-between worlds, the liminality of that. Landon, the sense of I'm so much on my own and yet there are so many like me, I just need to come together to be with them. Jakob, the sense of the invitation of the ordinary and the extraordinary as well. Diego, your presencing of the emergent new phase for yourself, and how many people right now, anywhere, everywhere, all around the world are just sensing into, again, the liminality of moving from a phase that's ending and into a new phase that's emerging, and the vulnerability and the courage and the authenticity of being present to that, how much that is actually part of next gen leadership. And Sushant, the capacity to hold the line of inquiry, perhaps of decades that you integrate already in your journey, and be completely present in a fresh and new way in what is emergent today in this moment, and how that moment is informing us about what this cosmology that we gather for today want to voice and presence through us. So I didn't know I was going to say all that, but I suppose that's what your emergent and live cosmology and the way Forrest landed us in the space activates for me. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to discover what else will reveal itself with us. So I'll pass it back to you, Forrest.
Yeah, thank you, Aviv, and everyone. I too am. I really notice, Nusha, you being the single female-bodied person here, and I'm just having a deep appreciation for you in the space, and also want to invite in the larger collective, the larger we, into our gathering here. And for me, as I access my yin energy, listening deeply, dropping into deep receptivity, I'm opening to see if there's anything the larger we wants to share into this space. I do know that the women, the female-bodied humans in my field, have been really, really orienting me towards our planet recently, towards the body, towards the depth of the emotional territory. And I'm learning a lot about coming to stillness, to be with what is. I have a tendency to fly away into conceptualization, to be in awareness and moving very, very quickly. And I've really been learning to slow down and be quiet and be still and listen deeply. It's an area where I have quite a bit of room to grow. And I will lean into that edge today and listen deeply with you all into the larger we and to the space itself today, listening into what wants to unfold here. As I do that, I get this connection to animating energetics in our container today, these underlying forces at play, and how they might want to have their way through us. So I'm just opening even just 1% more to make room for how they want to come into form through me and through us. So that's me. Aviv, my impulse is to hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. And my sense is to actually first open if there is anything that's live now for anybody to offer as a follow-on to what just emerged up. I have few slides that I was going to bring just to use the methodology of placing a stem and or an inquiry for us to be in a meditative way with it for a moment or two and then speak to it from the whole of ourselves, and we can go there in a moment. I am sensing though to actually make an opening. If there is anything that wants to be spoken just on what has appeared so far, so please.
Hi everyone. So I wanted to speak about the feminine leadership aspect, and I know Aviv, you had mentioned in a previous meeting that we had that there wasn't enough feminine leadership, and this whole approach that we all have our masculine and feminine, and that, yeah, I really appreciate that you presenced that even though there's no physical feminine other than myself in this group, all the men here are very, very capable to drop into that feminine side. And I just want to acknowledge that in each. I'm going to have tears because it's just so beautiful. Yeah, I'm really moved that all of you have developed that capacity within yourselves. Yeah. I think the world needs more of that, because what's happened is the transition. Women have dropped more into their masculine so that they can be more balanced. But at some point, we both need to kind of, step in and use it when necessary. So I really appreciate that, and I really honor each one of you. I know how much work it is to develop that side, especially to your point, Landon, when most men out there may not be doing that kind of thing. So my deep appreciation goes out to each and every one of you. Thank you for the work you've done to develop your feminine side, and I'm excited for us to work together. I just wanted to share a little more about the feminine, because Forrest, you hit it right on the spot in that it's about, and I think Sushant, you spoke about it as well, it's this unknown. It's like this present moment awareness and creating moment by moment, and this moment creates the next moment, and trusting that, when this moment takes care of itself, the next moment will take care of itself. And I think, aside masculine, feminine, the planet is very masculine. And so it's all about the goals. So Forrest, I feel for you. Yeah, we've been all trained to be like goal oriented. So it's really exciting that this is the space we're creating, where it's like, we don't know. It's just a moment by moment creation, and to feel through our body and our intuition. And so I'm really excited. So thank you.
Sushant, any second round from you at this point, I sense, perhaps?
Yeah. Thank you, Nusha. That was really beautiful. the masculine and feminine is something that I've been on a long journey with. It's actually an ongoing practice of mine. I work with a teacher specifically on what he calls a third consciousness, which is basically, the masculine and feminine coming together. So, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of things about the world. Obviously, we take in so much information and so much data these days, and we're always processing a lot. And so, what comes up for me is just the sense that I'm seeing is whenever we are in this kind of we space, in this context, almost like our hearts are connected. If we're sitting in a circle, which would be the natural thing to do in a workshop kind of setting or in this kind of conversation, I always see a ring sort of touching everybody's heart connected. And that's really such a beautiful gift of the feminine, and I think what Nusha is talking about, I so much relate with that, where, I think women are basically forced to adapt some of the masculine sort of qualities to be in the workforce, be on shoulder to shoulder with other men in the society. And we haven't really found what's the feminine sort of path would look like. And men, on the other hand, have basically, it's so new. I mean, if you really look at it, like working in such a close proximity with each other in leadership context, in many work contexts, even in relationship context, I think we're really in between worlds. And I think something new is trying to emerge through us, and deeply listening to that, honoring that. And also, whenever we are talking about something new trying to emerge, it comes with old falling away, and old falling away is painful. But there is also clean pain and there's dirty pain, and all of that emerges, and clean pain is something that we have to stay with. Dirty pain is something that we have to work out, and it's an ongoing thing. It's really an ongoing thing, and I'm feel very grateful about having this kind of container where we can show up fully in this way with our light and shadows. Thank you.
And Sushant, can I just stay with you for a further moment when you describe this sense of there's something new, the new world that's trying to emerge? What is there any sense or glimpses of what is this new world that's emerging that you can bring to the space here, please?
That brings such a smile to my face when you say glimpses, because that's exactly what it is. I do experience it as glimpses. Just a brief, I think it's probably been like 12 years ago now. I was working in Peru, Cusco, Peru, and I was spending some time with the shamans there. And one night I had this vision of a new world that was emerging, and it was very interconnected, and it was light based technologies around the world, and it was very different that I sensed. And so I had two things. One was just the technological advances that I glimpsed, and the heart opening that I glimpsed. On the technological advancement, I saw, because I work in the field of technology and finance, I saw sort of a very new way of how we actually do technology. And later on, it kind of opened up to some of my work. I can go tell stories about that. And then on the heart opening, it was there is recognition that, we all have been trained to be like Anusha was talking about, goal-oriented, like the warrior energy, right? We talk about warrior, king, lover, all these magician, all of these archetype. And some of us, I sense, especially in this room, all of us have been trained to be a magician as well. Take something in and then transform it. And then we have this very clear understanding of what we are moving towards, a king sort of archetype. But the lover archetype, it kind of comes online early on in our life, but it doesn't iterate into something mature. And I think that's what's trying to emerge. Well, how would lovers show up in the world of finance and technology and leadership? So to me, that's the glimpse that I'm getting. The reemergence of the lover.
Yes, thank you. The sense of the glimpses of that truly coming alive in the way you describe the journey of inquiring into this. I'm sensing to invite Stefan here. You've been on the inquiry of the next and the new for many, many years. You are coaching and mentoring next gen leaders in many different contexts for a long time. So what would you want to bring, either on whatever has already appeared in this space, or from completely other angles and directions, in terms of the new that's emerging, the new world that's trying to emerge, the new kind of leadership that's trying to emerge?
I think I'm going to do both. Building on what Sushant said, that the new lover, I guess in our collective, we had many times experience that love is extremely important for leadership and for growth. When you hold a baby and there's like this automatic generation of love between your body and their body, if it's a baby of your family, or if it's the child of somebody you care about, love as a raw material for growth is extremely important. And there's been, in the change you describe in society, Aviv, there's been a big transformation of this period of time between when we leave our family, which is something that next-gen leaders are definitely jumping into very quickly. And I'm helping a lot of, let's say, between 19 to 25 years old who live apart from their family in different countries. So there's this period of life after leaving our family of origin, before founding our own family, where we're in between and we don't have the same amount of love and nourishment that an original family is supposed to give, or our own family is supposed to give. So this new generation of leader is coming up with very smart and beautiful ways to create a kind of chosen family in between. And it's extremely important for leadership. Why? Because the complexity of the world that we're having today, it requires even more capacity for stress management or self-regulation. And being together, being able to talk, being able to touch, being able to relax around each other, after a family origin and before our next family, it's becoming crucial. So a key topic for next gen is self-regulation and stress management. And if you combine all these aspects together, the big thing that comes out of that is relationships. So a new way of relating is definitely bound to happen. And in fact, has already largely happened. There's now some movement dedicated on new ways of relating. And the big discovery of this next generation of leaders is that you can create the world you want to live in, and that world includes the culture, the community, the discovering all those tools to make your own make your own lifestyle, right? I guess I've opened a lot of avenues and topics, but for me, this next generation leadership has this very important piece of the love, nourishment, nurture, stress management to be with. It's one of the aspects of it.
So, staying with what you just offered there, I'd like to inquire even deeper into this. What you describe it's a fascinating insight. You framed this third family in between the family of origin to the new family you're creating, and how critical and profound that is, because this is really the formative age where people are setting direction in terms of professional and passion and the purpose that they're called to serve, and you are presencing, you centering to our awareness that the relationships and the connections that are fashioned during that time, they often set people in those formative directions, and how critical it is. So historically, I'm sensing this used to have been a time when people very much inquired about the future. I sense in the way you are describing the need to self-regulate, find love, find a way to relax. The next gen going through these phases, and some of you are able to describe the experience from being inside it, and so I'm inviting your voices as well. What is it we are learning about this phenomenon? What is it we are learning about those liminal years, whether it's 18, 19 through to the late 20s into the early 30s? Because truly, when we talk about next-gen leadership and the future of the world, so much of the creative potential and the remedial potential, the healing potential, is to emerge through the creativity, the innovation, the capacities that are unlocked through this phase. So I'm inquiring and inviting more about that, please. Either Stefan, if you want to build more, or anybody else, please. Landon, do you feel ready to speak to any aspect of that, please?
I feel it's slowly coming together. But really, what came to mind, Stefan, when you were talking was, I was thinking about my brother, my younger brother. And we're very similar in that we both want to create things to help people. And I sometimes feel like we are very, we have this story that we tell ourselves that we need to do it alone. Like we need to go on this journey of self-discovery, and we need to put everything down and focus on ourselves and go on this path and figure things out. And I'm very much like that as well. And there's many times where I feel like the love that my brother needs is the love that I need, is the love that we all need, which is you don't have to do it alone. You know, like we can do it together. We could probably create something, you know, it'll be more fulfilling by the time we create it. And the people that we become while we're creating it are going to be so much more fulfilled and so much more whole. And then you get so much more of that love, you know, from a brotherly love, from a friendship love, from like a mentor-mentee love, from just a human to human love, you know. And like you were saying before, like there's so much fuel in that love. There's so much creativity in that love. There's so much space for play, for ordinary sitting on the couch hanging out love, and then from that, creative ideas can blossom from there. And so, yeah, I just feel a deep sense of wanting to spread more love, and then through that love, what can emerge? We can have business ideas, we could have golf trips, we could have camping trips, and just like enjoyment of the whole process. So why don't we enjoy life a little bit more, love a little bit more, and then create from that love? And I think the whole journey will be just that much more fun and amazing.
I'm sensing here to invite Jakob, if there is any contribution you want to make on this.
I just like your words, Landon. It was very nice. I guess I at least have this need or have this longing, I guess, that you spoke towards, and yeah, I guess there's something touching me around not feeling as alone in the pursuit, or this interesting mixture of paradox of like going alone at my like unique purpose and path with a brother, right? Like recently I found this like very deep, very almost existential aspect of like brothers in arms to be very powerful, right? Like Sushant, you spoke towards the warrior archetype, and it's been interesting for me to like how to relate to that. Like, okay, so you want to let go of the like the metaphors of warfare in business, and like there is an actual war happening not too far from where I live in Austria right now, an invasion war, and then like how does this like power fit in with purpose, peaceful purpose? So I guess that is a bit of an inquiry that I have right now, and that is a bit of this very peculiar love that I've been longing for, this brothers in arms. Yeah. Thanks, Landon, for speaking to that.
So my intuition right now is not to go yet into rooms, but to stay here and build further the intelligence gathering about the way we are each experiencing leadership. And I am sensing to bring for a moment this slide, for us to be in meditation with it for a moment, as a way to build on everything we've already presenced here, and to see if there is anything that comes alive for you when you sense into I experience leadership when, and or I'm embodying leadership when, or perhaps I'm called into leading, or any other variation. And the reason these appeared when Forrest and I sensed into today was we wanted to stay embodied and continue the conversation inside out. That's why it has the I at the beginning of the stem. I'm just going to go quiet for a moment, and let us stay with these quietly for a moment or two, and then take it off the screen and let the conversation flow in any way it wants to.
So something that comes to me when I presence this, the things being said previously, as well as the phrases, is when I'm connecting to leadership, I connect a lot to a sense of responsibility. And it's not a sort of pure masculine responsibility that we've heard often known for long. It's a very inclusive form of responsibility, a form of deciding to take care of while not coming necessarily from above, maybe having a view from above, but being side by side and acknowledging the ideals, the things that we aspire, at the same time as how things are, where we're at the moment. So how I experience, I'm seeing some of you frozen, and I'm wondering if you could hear me. Yeah. Okay. So a way I'm experiencing leadership is in a calling for taking responsibility, and the way through the way to do this is in a way through the integration of what before have seemed as paradoxes, and so, or like opposites. So some of the ones that come to mind, I mentioned the ideal and the practical. So having things that we aspire to, like love or connection or inclusiveness, and at the same time acknowledging where we're at in the world, the power struggles or the inequalities or merely lacks present in the world, and working with them. So potentially creating structures that empower each person, each group, where they're at, where they're coming from, to flourish in that, and beyond that. And at the same time also in our, this is in creating structures, and in our own also integrating the extremes that before seemed like we could only live in one or the other. So integrating stillness with speed, integrating love with discernment and power, integrating simplicity, the simplicity of the breath, with living and thriving and advancing in complexity. And those are just the ones that come to my mind now. Yeah.
Leadership as being with, leadership as working with, leadership in stepping into the space of responsibility and caring, leadership as integrating impossible paradoxes and polarities. There is an embodied feeling that comes when you describe that sense of leadership. It's a leadership from the inside out. It's a leadership with that lifts up. Thank you.
Yeah, and when you say that, something that becomes clear to me is in this having both the masculine and the feminine leadership. It's the power, the showing up, the fully taking responsibility, while being deeply, deeply caring and soft and vulnerable. Yeah, this is what becomes present with me as I hear you, Aviv.
Forrest, my attention comes to you. Is there any sense of the leadership that's emergent now in any of those terms, or any other way that you want a presence with us?
I'm appreciating your intuition, Aviv. Right as you came to me, I was checking back in with the larger we and the listening I'm doing into the space, and I just very loudly got the word parenting. And so I want to speak to there's the next generation leadership and there's the next generations. And it seems like fundamentally critical is our capacity as next generation leaders to consider a wider time horizon that's multi-generational. Aviv, you and I have talked many times about this practice we have of checking in around midday and asking, what would my great-great-grandchild, if my great-grandchild asked me, hey, what did you do today to create a better world for me to live in? Do I have an answer by about halfway through the day? And if not, how does that reorient the way I'm going to spend my day today? And so for me, as I'm fighting and resisting and opening and allowing the possibility of becoming a father and starting a family, this is not a material thing right now, I'm just saying, in the ether, what might come to be at some point. Truly in my heart, this has been an orienting North Star and exploration, an inner North Star for over a decade now. I mean, what kind of livelihood and work situation can I create where I don't leave my family from 7 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night and can be around my home and my children? How can I create my life so I can be around to be with my family and not just be in the Industrial Revolution, kind of leave every day to go to the factory and then come home later 5 days a week? So that's been deeply important to me. Who am I in the home, right? Like when I'm dropping into these kinds of questions, like how can I show up and do the work with my inner children now that I know will be like, we see the world as we see ourselves, and our external reality mirrors our interiors. So what can I do now with my inner collective of, there are villages of children in me who need love and care and attention and tending to, and how does one do that? I mean, that's really been a growth trajectory for me, is really learning to care for the infants and the toddlers and the young ones in me. And it's a humbling journey to open up to more patience and care and presence and attention, and not fix, but just be with what is from a place of unconditional love and curiosity and appreciation. And so for me, I just want to include the intergenerational, next generations lens into this conversation about leadership. And who we're being right now is inviting a world that might make possible a level of flourishing that's never existed on planet Earth before. And that is incredibly inspiring and so life-giving and nourishing and satiating for me. And I'm filled with delight and joy, touching into what we're holding space for and how we're unfolding space together, creating space for what's to come in future generations. So I'm complete with that.
Leadership that integrates and envelops, brings in next generations, the children of our children, and a leadership that lives into that consideration and is inclusive of all that, and at the same time is first of all inclusive of yourself, such that you don't get untethered from yourself. Because how can you create a flourishing future for those next generations if you are leaving yourself outside the picture? So that paradox for us, that paradox, that tension of how do you create a world that you truly imagine for next generations, and at the same time create this world for you today, your family, your home, your well-being, your capacity coming online. How do you serve tomorrow's world and serve yourself today? That is where leadership, the leadership you are inquiry that you are framing for us.
Yeah, Aviv, and as you're speaking, I can feel all my passion drivers flicking on right now. I mean, I'm just really coming online here. And for me, another paradox here that's so profoundly meaningful in these times is that some of the most important work happening right now is this massive unseen work happening of people turning into their interiors and doing healing work and trauma work and shadow work and resolving and metabolizing and letting go of, right? Misha, you spoke about being between worlds. Being with I define trauma as residue or residual of a moment we couldn't fully process while it was happening. And there is an unseen wave of people right now who are sitting down and being with what we weren't resourced to be with while it was happening. And it is the paradox of what seems like a completely alone, soloed off, I'm in a one-on-one therapy session or by myself in my room, and there are just droves of people having this experience. We're all alone together. We're all solo collectively. We're all having this lone wolf experience. There's all these lone wolf packs forming now of folks like us who've gone off and gone our own way and are now coming together and gone, oh, we've all had the same experience by ourselves, right? And this work epigenetically and intergenerationally, the courage to be present with not only our own personal experience, but our family experience, the collective cultural experience we have hundreds of thousands of years of human history that humanity as a superorganism is now turning to our collective interior as a species and saying, how have we treated each other? What has our experience been over these hundreds of thousands of years? And is that the way we might want to move forward? And we are fundamentally at the tectonic plates of being, reorienting the foundations with which we're orienting to reality, to ourselves, to each other, to systems, to consciousness itself. And that, the paradox of the alone and the together, the seen and the unseen, that's happening, to me, it really strikes me. I want to celebrate everyone doing the unseen work, and have a moment of, we see the unseen in a way here now.
The riveting potency in what you're describing, Forrest, is that there has always been lone wolves. Just previous generations, they went after I'm right here in Seattle, Pacific Northwest. They went after conquering and colonizing the unconquered part of the continent. First, all around the planet, and in recent generations into the moon and Mars, as though that is the next frontier. What you're describing is that the lone wolf discovery journey is to decolonize all that's been colonized wrongly inside ourselves and left frozen in and through those generations of conquering. And the bravery and the courage of this generation of leaders is not in pushing the frontiers into the west or the east, but pushing the frontiers inside. The last unliberated continent inside the human, where we put lights all around the planet, but we left it dark on the inside. And what you're describing is that the courage of illuminating inside the part that was left out. When you are doing this work on your own, you are inviting through that inquiry everybody else seeking, searching alongside with you on their own, which is where that solo work it generates a larger we. And I'm feeling and sensing to bring Nusha and your voice into this conversation at this point, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a pleasure to share. Yeah, there's a lot that was shared that I deeply resonate with, and I know, Forrest, you mentioned for a decade you've been thinking along these lines, and similarly, I've been thinking for over a decade this whole transformation of our education and health system and how they're actually integrated and one, but they've been separated for so many years. And I'm also present to the interview that you, Forrest, and Aviv had, which I really enjoyed. That was, you shared, Forrest, that every wound is a womb. And I thought that is so appropriate for what we're going through as humanity, that, you know, those of us that are adults now, we went through a lot of wounds to understand that, wow, these are opportunities for the next generation of something that we can create for your children and your grandchildren. And I know, Aviv, for your grandchild that you've both been speaking about, that it's important for you, for them to have a space, a place where, you know, Stefan, to your point, where it's love, there's love around us. And I think the education systems that we've had have perhaps had the thing of love missing. And so it's like everyone is craving it, yet we can all, if any of us have worked in a corporate environment, we know that the word love is just not shared. It's not something that you would, and so everyone shies away from that and says, well, I don't want to be a part of that. To your point, Forrest, it's like, I want to be with my family. And Stefan, you were saying that connection, to have that connection, the touch with people, and that's really what life is. So I was just sensing with the Portals group that there's, I know, Aviv, you mentioned this in like 4A1, that there was like 10,000 youth ages 15 to 25 that were interviewed, and over 50% of them did not have a positive view for humanity. It was really very bleak, and they were in fear. And I think a lot of that is, you know, the media has done a fantastic job of sharing the 1 or 2% of things that happen on the planet that are not so great, and then the 90% we don't know about. And so there's just this these glasses that are worn, that are just from fear versus love. So the opportunity to bring that perspective. I know we've talked a lot about each one of us represents a lot of other people that we're in contact with. And Forrest, that check-in that you do with Aviv, like, what did I do today that, you know, I could be proud of? And I think it's as simple as those moments where we, like, I'm practicing this myself. And I know, Jacob, you talked about the acceptance of others, and it's just coming from a place of love and understanding, like, why would that person be in that place? Like, why would they be thinking that? Why would they be doing that? And just that one thing, I think, can start to expand and grow. It's a very simple thing that we can all do every day. And I know, Forrest, you've spoken about it before in our larger group. It's easy to come from a place of fear because we're surrounded by that darkness, and to presence love, which is the feminine, to presence that love. So one of the like visions, it's just an idea of there's so many people like Stefan as an example, and everyone who works with him. I don't know what everyone else does, but there's an opportunity for us to be those mentors to those youth. Doesn't just have to be Stefan, ages 15 to 25. I know I go to an exercise class, there's like 15, 25-year-olds there. I love it. And yeah, it's just really shifting that conversation. And we don't know how powerful just that one conversation can be to shift someone's view of, well, that's one part of it, and it could be this as well. Because as we all know, there's both energies. There's the love and the fear. And for me, when I experience leadership, it's really when I experience someone, and I think, Diego, you spoke about this, that cares deeply about humanity. And it could just be a mother at home having a conversation with her daughter or son that frames life in a way that, to Jacob's point, is accepting of others versus those people, or that, or the connecting versus separating. And it's very practical what I'm sharing. It's like a very simple thing. I've been practicing it myself, and I think it's something that we can all do. And often just the most simple, small things can have such a profound impact. So, it's not like creating a huge business or anything, although we can, but just that one thing to be that light ourselves. And I get this image of, a dark room, and you have one match that you light, and it brightens up the room. So we can all be that. And it's beautiful for us that you're thinking of your children and how you will be with them. And yeah, it's a process. And that's why I'm so passionate about like creating this whole new paradigm for like education and health. So I'm very, very excited, and yeah, excited to continue the conversation and see what else emerges.
What came up for me about the I'm called to lead is there's something that like my heart longs for in the world, and like I guess like I have a deep trust that like that which my heart is longing for is like making the world a better place for all of us. And so the most precise and like the point where I can be most certain that like what I'm like called to do is good is when I have a sense, if I don't speak, there's a bit of beauty that might be lost. There's a bit of beauty that still wants to be expressed, and it's either going to be expressed later or right now. And so I guess I just did some of this by speaking right now, or I tried to.
So you are demonstrating, Jakob, leadership by self-inclusion, leadership by stepping forward to include your voice. So much of what we have seen in past generations that we're trying to heal and redeem in terms of next-gen leadership is leadership was always, not always, but a lot of the time involved a sacrifice. So I've got to sacrifice myself. Now, I think perhaps sacrifice still has an important element in what is trying to arise, but perhaps even that, the sacrificial dimension can be rewritten. Perhaps part of what we are called to do is to reimagine that the sacrificial dimension is what some of you have spoken to in the sense of bringing light to where there was darkness before, and embracing that sense of uncertainty and vulnerability and not knowing, and stepping into the not knowing in oneself, that is part of how we metabolize in a new way the sacrificial element inside leadership. So, self-inclusion, Jakob, yes.
Wanted to build on what Jacob was saying, and I think it's really powerful because the school system doesn't encourage the sharing of the expression freely, you know, like this free expression. And, you know, like, what are people going to think? They might think I'm weird, or, you know, so it's really, just to highlight that, like, I totally agree. And I think it's really powerful when you are a leader to speak and share what's there, as crazy as it might be, as strange as it might be. It could resonate, and maybe it doesn't resonate, but it's okay, because I think, Aviv, you talked about this expanding universe. As we share, it just creates worlds. So just wanted to highlight that. Thanks for sharing.
I am sensing right now that we stay here and that we bring the miracle question on the screen and let you sense into that. I see you nodding, Forrest.
Yeah, it feels like one big breakout room.
Yeah. Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.